Sweet. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check. I think. Oh, okay. It is coming through. Check. Yeah. Getting some kind of signal here. I would like to share my screen. All right. Well, I thought I'd try streaming on YouTube. Give this a shot on the YouTube channel. Just keeps everything together. Keeps everything kind of concise. I've tried doing Kick and stuff like that before, running OBS and everything. But if YouTube has all the functionality of something like OBS, where it looks like I can share my screen, do everything through it, but I don't have to deal with the gripe of another software, kind of like taxing my system. It's just purely, pulling my info from this and streaming it out there. That's a dub. That's a dub for me. So, I'm just going to assume that while it looks like I do have some controls over my stream here. Okay, that's all that I need. Well, it looks like I do have some controls and functionality. Like it definitely doesn't have all of the. It's not like a huge control panel like OBS has, where I have a bunch of different settings I can mess with. So we're gonna try this out, see how it goes. But for now, I feel good. So what am I working on today? I am working on an edit for Base, the nonprofit that I work with. This is a recap edit of their event that they had a few weeks ago. So we just want to showcase that event and talk about how much of a fun time it was, that kind of thing. And so that's what we're here to do. Just yeah, try to create just a fun, nice recap edit along with some testimonials. So typically for these uh, events, when I film them, document them, I go around and do just a few of these talking head sort of portions about people's thoughts on the day, on the holiday, why are we here, that kind of thing. And I like to sprinkle those in here throughout it. And I like that to kind of be what leads the edit, like what people are actually saying, like the spoken human voice. I think is one of those most like critical parts to include in a video when you want people to really be engaged with it and really take away something from it. I think there's it's the stuff it's the most bang for your buck, like just having other people in it, hearing other people talk about it. That's, in my opinion anyways, what makes for a great edit of pretty much any kind, I would say. Just having some sort of human voice in it, whether that's a wedding edit where you're having like the best man speech kind of playing or being heard in the background, like just little things like that. Um, all of those things in conjunction, or any of those types of edits, could benefit from, I think, just having people talking in the background. So for this edit, yeah, like I said, it's just random people we just walked up to, filmed them, and just got their thoughts on the day. So where I'm at as of right now, I started off by selecting music. That's typically how I like to start for these. At the same time, I just went through all the interviews, and I chopped them up out here, kind of at the outskirts of the main timeline section, is what I would consider it. I like to kind of do that, just bring everything into the same actual timeline, but I'll just put all the stuff, all the pieces that I'm like in big chunks that may or may not work with. I'll put them out here, and then I'll just kind of skim through them and find the good parts, and then just copy paste them over into the actual sort of like edit zone, which is also where the music is, where all of the B-roll will go, which is what these purple clips are up here. I like to just color code things like that just to keep it simple. I also will keep all of the A-roll, we'll call it, on this first video track, along with it, the audio, the corresponding audio. And then I'll keep the music on the second track, and then any sound effects and sound design, sound layering will happen on any of these tracks down below those two. So just keeps everything nice and compact, nice and composed, I guess is the way to think about it. So It's just what makes the most sense for me. So yeah, where we're at right now, I'm gonna start by just going through and finding more B-roll to fill these gaps here. I kind of have a start, so I started off with this drone shot. Um, it's just a nice wide drone shot. I'm probably gonna go in and add some effects, some animations, kind of some fancy stuff. That'll be like one of the last steps is adding those animations and that kind of thing, or any sort of visual effects will come last. Um, but starting off with this, just like B-roll clips, not really a whole lot. I also want to go in and potentially find some kind of vocal something to put in here as well, just to open it up and, bring some energy to it right out the gate, so it's not such a slow start. But what we're going through right now and doing is finding B-roll, like I said, and it's going to start with finding B-roll for this clip specifically because I have this woman talking here, and she is going like I got some B-roll of her doing her kind of screen printing at the booth. So I'm gonna start with a few shots of that to kind of bring it in, and then we'll bring her in, somewhere around here after we've shown some B-roll of her, just as a more quote unquote soft way of bringing her visual on screen. You tease a little bit about what they're doing. Like in the case of this guy down here, he was a mobile barber, so I got some slow mo shots of him, prepping his stuff, that kind of thing. And then we'll cut to him talking. Again, ignore the color correction. I need to do some work on that. Actually, I don't know if I've addressed that yet, but I went in and just put a basic color grade on these clips. We'll get into that pretty soon as well, but super super basic for right now. I just wanted to throw something on there essentially, so that not all the clips looked like this one. Um, but yeah, that'll come with time. Same with sound design, sound balance. Haven't done any of that yet. The music is definitely drowning out the vocals right now. So we'll address that in due time. But I wanted to start with this. So yeah, right now let's just get some B-roll clips on top of this clip. So we have this one here. I'm gonna actually just shrink these down a little bit. I was using it to browse a little bit easier, or make the browsing a little bit easier, but at this point I want to find the other clips that I recorded around the same time. So I look up here in the inspector tab and I can see the title of that clip is 2646, even though I can't see it here because it's shortened. I can scroll down here to 2646 and see here's the portion of the clip that I just grabbed. Um, and so now I just want to find a few more shots. I like to get a good combination when I'm shooting of close-ups, mediums, and wides. That's just kind of a general rule of thumb when you're doing just run and gun sort of shooting, like documentary style, anything. You get a little bit of everything, get some wide establishing shots. I've even like, even though you'd kind of consider this a wide shot, I would honestly, what I've started really uh, taking note of, I guess, more is that actual wide shots are like shots that show the entire space that they're in. So if I would have taken like a good steps back and just got her, and I believe this was her daughter here, and their entire booth setup, like in the context of the event, not just like a wide shot of her, I think this will suffice. But you can kind of see what I'm getting at, like something that shows the person that you're about to show close-ups of in their context, in the location that they're in. That's typically, I think, what's meant by a wide shot. If you really want to play it safe, get a wide shot that shows all four legs of this tent that they're under, or I guess all eight legs, if that makes sense. Just something that was, even farther back than this. But for the purposes of this video, I think this is going to be fine. It's just something to bear in mind while you're shooting. Like, just try to get those opportunities. Try to think in terms of coverage when you're doing this stuff. Shoot a lot of angles of the same thing, um, as much as you can. So we started off with that tight shot, and typically, I can change around the orders of these as I please. I kind of like, oops, see, this is what happens. And now I have to go back here and zoom back in. Shift Z is the shortcut that'll just come in clutch when you just want to shift Z, zoom all the way out. Oh, I want to go to the end, shift Z instead of having to scroll all the way back to the beginning. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to scroll, but Instead of doing that, I like to just Shift Z, and you're just toggling in between zoomed out and zoomed in, and you can just basically, it feels like teleporting to different parts of the edit. So that said, let's actually punch in one more, and then yeah, let's play this. So I'm just gonna kind of scrub through here. I can see right here, it looks like I adjusted my ND filter. So this is why I like to scrub through these things, because I like to just get a sense of what the whole clip looks like. I'll watch it a few times and then find just a good part based on my intuition. So I immediately can rule out the very beginning where it just goes out of focus there for no reason. And right there where my hand is, I'm trying to find a place away from that stuff. And I obviously don't want it where it like randomly just gets darker. Even though this might be more technically properly exposed, that's probably why I darkened it and adjusted that ND filter. What I'd rather do is just keep it, somewhere like this. So I'm just going to hit I, scroll up a little bit, hit O. We don't need a huge section. I can always lengthen it once I get into the timeline. I don't need the audio from this, so I'm just going to grab the video clip and just pull it down. And so now it's a matter of putting a couple of these in here. Let me grab one more alternate angle. Okay, so not really a whole lot happening in this shot. It looks like it was like right after she came off the heat press, so not really a whole lot there. And for this, I kind of like this. I like stuff with some movement like that, and something that shows continuity as well. That's going to be a little long, yeah. So, um, it it seems so dramatic. Like I know that seemed like a very short section that I clipped from this, but you got to remember I'm scrubbing through this, and this is 60 FPS footage, so everything was slow mo. That's an important note. I shot everything slow mo here, uh, pretty much just to have the option to slow it down later if I wanted to in post. And this is something I've only recently been able to actually do, is film 4K 60. I think now the cameras are kind of catching up with the trends. This is becoming more and more common, or I would say not just common, but like almost default to have 4K 60 be an option. And obviously, this is all shot with the FX30, so obviously I'm gonna have 10-bit as well. And then the interviews were shot on the FX3, um, which, if you couldn't already tell, I have everything kind of organized up here in these folders. General rule of thumb for editing, in my opinion, there's no such thing as being too organized, and you could extrapolate that to life, honestly. You could take that, of course, to the extreme of somebody with like OCD or something who's hyper organized, but typically, unless you have an actual obsessive compulsive disorder where things are just where you have to stay organized, where your need for organization is taking priority over other things in your life, I would say that's the point where it becomes a problem. But up until that point, there's really no such thing as being too organized. Like you might as well create folders, create levels, create structures, create things that just help keep your workspace as neat as possible and keep your workflow as concise and with as minimal effort as possible. That's what we're all about here. So, um, yeah, I've broken this up into, in this case, really just two different cameras. Well, and of course, audio, drone footage. So I guess three different cameras. And then this is a folder for a whole other day of shooting, which we'll go into. But just this quick side tangent. Yeah, just the importance of keeping things separated by folder. In for an edit like this, if I was working on this in a much bigger capacity with, say, like an entire team of people or multiple editors, multiple colorists, that kind of thing, instead of breaking them up by camera, it might be more useful in a case like that to categorize them either using smart bins or something else by like what type of footage it is. Like, is this footage of which location? Is this footage of the stage, of the performers, of vendors, like all the different things, like of the bounce houses? There was, you'd have to know about the shoot a little bit to do that. or to know how to categorize certain things, you'd have to have some information about what the event was that was captured, I guess. But in this case, there wasn't a whole lot of footage shot on the FX3. Like you can see, I just scrolled to the top and bottom of it. It's not really a whole lot. Um, and I know all of the interviews were shot on the FX3. They were just down here, like in the kind of the middle of the day. So in this case, it just made sense, and I didn't really feel the need to organize it any further than this, since I'm going to be the only one working on this edit. I know that all the FX30 stuff is here, and if I think, oh, I would love a shot of the stage right here, I can just kind of scroll through and just visually at a glance pretty quickly find which shots aren't of the stage and which shots are. So didn't feel the need to organize any further in this particular case, but just putting it out there, that might be something useful to do, is to organize your shots by type rather than just by camera, or just by, yeah, just by camera. So yeah, to finish this off, so where were we? This is 2646. So we're gonna scroll back up here. Um, find those shots right here. So oh yeah, I got all three. So I'm gonna shorten this a little bit. And yeah, what I was saying was everything was shot at 60p. So let's see how this just sort of flows with the music. I'm not gonna put anything before it yet. We're just gonna mess around with these three clips, these three B-roll shots for right now, and see what the best way to arrange them and cut them might be right now. Okay, so right away looking at that, you can tell it feels a little disjointed. Like it's just it's kind of a weird order. So it's, well, that's part of it. So we're gonna start with that wide shot at the beginning. See if this flows any better. Just I basically just swap the place of those two. Okay, so that's also a little bit disjointed, but it's better. So the first thing that I'm noticing is even though this isn't a perfect continuation, you can see here she's working actually on this Cricut machine, which it basically just cuts out designs, and then it cuts to her working on the actual press. You don't really notice the awkward cut because it's switching angles, and it's her arms are kind of relatively in the same position, so it's not as noticeable. And honestly, I think it could pass if I don't have a good shot of her operating this machine from this wide angle. I could also, of course, just keep looking through here and see if I can find a better wide angle where she is, but it doesn't look like I have that. So here's just some more close-ups. So that's a good shot there. So actually, I might keep that. That's going to be a little long, but we'll find somewhere to put it in, even if it's not right there. I just like to, set it aside for now. It's just a good shot. So yeah, got the wide shot there. I'm just looking over here, skimming through this. And the reason I liked this shot is because it really shows what she's doing. The reason I wanted to film her at all doing this is because typically for the vendors, you don't see them actually working on their craft like at the event. Typically, it's just like everything they have is done, and they're peddling it, selling it, like just getting it out there and talking about it. But it was just cool to see somebody who actually had a tabletop setup like this that was doing screen printing and design cutting live, just like right there. So I wanted to just capture a little bit of that to showcase it. And then, of course, I took the time to interview her right after that. You can see she's actually wearing one of her designs here. There's some more designs right up here. So, so honestly, what I'm thinking is this shot might not be totally necessary. I want to actually kind of see how it might look with this sort of shot going into it. So immediately where my mind goes is putting a jump cut in here just to shorten it up a little bit. I could also speed this up to normal speed, but I kind of like so like that. You can see kind of the effect I'm going for. Um, And the next thing I'm gonna decide here is just how long I want these shots to last, and then I'll worry about, like, what part of the shot to use actually later. So, I'm really just trying to decide where these cuts should go at this point. Um, so that's kinda close, but I'm not sure how it really feels. Let's watch this again. So so I think this shot would work better if it was actually a shot of her pressing down on the press rather than just positioning this. So really quick at a glance, what I could do, just hit T here. I'm gonna punch in just a smidge. It just makes it easier. And I'm actually gonna hold down Shift and scroll down to expand this these video layers. Because what I don't want to do, you can see how if I hover over the top and the bottom, or in other words, there's the image on the video clip versus the portion that's just the color label and the text. I want to make sure I'm on the image so that I'm actually grabbing the adjusting the clip here. This will actually, yeah, you can see this just shifts the clip as it is in the timeline, which is useful, but not what we want to do right now. What we want to do right now is adjust the what portion of the clip is playing in that same spot. And what I'm looking for is, like I said, a point where she's pressing it. I can see up in that preview window. That's what we're coming to. So I think, and what it's actually showing is where the clip will, the frame that the clip will end on. So what I want to do is look for a good action and then end it there. And I'm only going to be able to go so far here. So let's see if just that action will work. Okay, so kind of not really. Let's see if there's a good shot of her. I want to see her using like the handles on it, and I can see I'm coming up to the end of my clip there, so it's not going to be in that clip. So maybe that other clip that I did have in here from the side would be better because that also might make it look just a little nicer. There's that other clip, this one. All right, this one. Scrubbing through, trying to find a place where she's kind of placing it. This was probably the best one because she's actually, you can tell she's actually prepping it for, switch the endpoint there. I'm going to drag and drop this in again here. Try not to drag it over the top of any other clips, although at this point it doesn't really matter a whole lot, I don't think. The other thing I could have done is just double clicked this, and when I had this selected, I could have hit overwrite and replace, or actually it's this clip here, and it would have basically just grabbed this clip and swapped it out for this. But I'm just doing it the old manual way just to try it. Let's just shrink this down, see how that, just see how that looks. I just think that's kind of an awkward cut for whatever reason. I like that jump cut. I think it works. I might adjust where the clips are, but I want this to last just a little bit longer, I think. And then this will probably not be the exact clip that goes there, but maybe it will. I don't know. Because these are kind of in that same subject. These are the books that, whoops, that this guy, this artist, Micah Blacklight made. So he is, again, I kind of just want to lead into his talking point with some of his table just to help it feel a little bit more cohesive, help it flow a little bit better. All right, so this is another clip that I just liked, so I'm just gonna set it aside because it doesn't fit what I need with right now. Oh, there was that clip. I forgot I dragged it off to the side. So go ahead and delete that. It was just a random clip that I found. I think it needs to last a little bit longer. That's good. So this shot, I think I just need to change. I need to change it with something else. Maybe this clip, there was something better. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I would have loved to have had a clip of her actually. Oh, there's this. Okay, well, good thing I found this because this actually might be better. And just something to bear in mind, like, and this might come up like as I go to place this in here, but for making recap edits or any kind of edits, like you really want to take some time to consider like the visual weight of the images that you're putting in. And what I mean by that is you don't want images that don't contribute to the overall message or story of the edit or the piece you're working on to dominate too much of the time frame. So the reason I'm bringing that up now is because this shot in particular, like while it does look pretty cool, it's a kind of a cool cinematic, like slow shot of somebody working on their craft. I mean, this is just kind of a classic, good, best practice B-roll shot, right? We got a little foreground, we got a little bit of blurry background, and we got a nice sharp subject in the middle, and it's slow mo and it's buttery, it's cinematic, it's smooth, it's cool. That said, I don't really want to put a ton of visual like emphasis on this shot because it's gonna make it seem like this is like that's what this edit is like people working on their craft, if that makes sense. Like I don't want it to come off as like pay attention, hyper pay attention to this one person working on this craft really quick. Like I could easily drag this clip out and make it like really cinematic and do a lot of effects, but really like the goal of this is to just kind of quickly take you through some things and kind of sprinkle these good shots in there as like little visual candy kind of thing. You just toss them in there sort of thing. Um, and if this was a video, for example, I guess by contrast, if this was a video about this one vendor or this one person doing her screen printing and working on this kind of stuff, if it was a video solely about her and her business, that might be a situation where it would make more sense to focus on these types of shots, like really let it sink in. Like if there was something about her craft or her process that was very unique or very specific, or it was just really skillful, like those are the moments in my mind where I'd want to emphasize those shots a little bit more. But for the purposes of this, we're just gonna again just sort of lightly tease it in there. And maybe it makes sense in this case to not necessarily do the wide close-up medium establishing because and actually, I think this might work right here just fine. Perhaps. Let's just go ahead and try overriding that, see what we get. Okay. So I think we're cooking a little bit with gas here. I kind of like that. So what I'm actually thinking now, just kind of having this idea, I think I'm going to do this exact same type of jump cut for this. So it'll be like boom, ta, like it'll go right with the music. Like it'll be cut, cut, like, as she's smoothing it out, and then it'll be cut, cut as she's peeling it. It'll be like a quick, cool sorta, I don't know, visual trickery thing. So I'm gonna just kinda arbitrarily put a cut, like, somewhere around here, and then a quick way to just create a jump cut out of thin air is to just adjust one of these 2 clips, either this one, the same way we did forward like that, or adjust this clip backwards like that, um, or actually this way. So I wanna grab some more previous from the clip to create a jump. So I'm gonna just park it right around there, hit A to switch back to my regular tool, and let's see what we get here. So you see my idea, like, dum, ta, dum, ta, like it just helps it fit a little bit better. And I'm not super concerned about like lining these up and make sure, although of course they're going to be pretty close to equal. I'm not super concerned with making them perfect. If anything, this is kind of more of a 30,000-foot view take on editing and stuff in the process. Like, you really do want to just go with sort of your instinct, your gut, and just sort of really, really try to rely on that as much as possible as far as where to put cuts, because your instinct and your gut is going to be informed way more than just by the music or by the person talking. It's going to be informed by all the content you've ever consumed. It's going to be conformed by all the music you've ever heard. And it's going to help you, I think, just determine a lot more so. Frog in my throat. Let's see. Get myself lubed up here a little bit. Ultimately, it's going to help you just determine where to put cuts at a much more, I think, real level. So not ultra concerned with, like hyper zooming in here and making sure it's exactly on the cut in the music. Although sometimes it makes sense to cut things perfectly to the music. Sometimes you just want it to kind of flow, and sometimes it kind of complements the music, and sometimes it falls a little out. But I think that's actually what makes um edits just a little bit more real, is like when they're not perfectly to the music. Sometimes, like, you don't want it to come off as hyper predictable at the same time. So what I really should have here is this shot. Good thing I just saw that. Does she actually hold it up? I'm pretty sure I got a shot of her holding it up. Yeah. So, and then I'm gonna maybe not cut to this right away, but I only smoke good stuff. So here's another 10,000-foot view of editing. You have to consider, even though you might have a lot of cool stuff here, and I just spent a good amount of time lining up these shots, finding these things. Is this really good to have in this edit? In this case, I think it's totally fine. I'm not really gonna spend too much time thinking about it. But there are some certain situations where it's like, okay, is this really a good thing to show off in this edit? Like, you have to consider things like your client and what do they want? What do they want to be known for? Where is this going to be viewed? How is this going to be displayed? Who's going to watch this? Who's the intended audience? Like, all of those things kind of mix together. Like, if I was just watching this for me, like, that's a great place to start. And at a certain level, you want it to be appealing to your eye at the very least, because if you don't even like it, then there's a good chance a lot of people aren't going to like it for whatever reason. So start there, but bearing in mind like all of those things. The only reason I brought that up in this case is because, of course, this has references to weed, um or whatever, but the devil's lettuce. But I think it's humorous. I think it's funny. Like, it's charming, and honestly, it's like, at the end of the day, whatever, bro. It's fucking legal. Like, get over it. Um, and it's not like this. If things were a little bit different, maybe it'd be different. If this was base, like holding up this thing that says "I smoke the good stuff," and they're all pointing at all the kids are wearing it, and they're all like holding up this, and like, if it was something like that, then it's like, okay, maybe let's tone it back. But something like this, I think we're totally fine. We're well within our rights. And the reason I'm bringing it up as the end is because I think that'd make like a cool, just sort of little mini story, mini sequence within an edit. Obviously, this won't be this long, but let's see how that kind of looks. Right there's where I want the cut to be. So in that case, I do want it right on the beat, just because that's a nice like little outro, I think, point. And the other thing I'm going to do here, just quickly, this is just like as I'm watching it, these just come to me. I'm a sucker for dynamic zoom right now. It's my fucking go-to. You can just see it just adds that level of energy, that level of movement to the whole edit. I think that's just like pretty much a, I don't know, like it's just it's such an awesome unique tool. You don't lose a ton of resolution. Like it's just a nice simple one click thing we can do just to spice up the camera a little bit more, spice up the shot just a little bit more. I'm gonna grab my smoothie really quick actually. Stand by. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got the fucking protein smoothie in the building. Oh my god, that's good. Holy fuck. All right. So cool. So I feel pretty good about that. And I'm gonna leave it like that and we'll come back to it. At this point, like that's kind of I think like the best way to approach edits like this sometimes, just like get a little section done or at least, to a passable point and then move on and come back and iron things out as you go. Like it's sort of I think anyways, it should be kind of an iterative thing like that. Like you're just constantly improving and checking on it. So let's let us proceed from there. Let's see how it cuts into this next portion of my guy Micah here talking. So right now, looking at this, what I can already tell is I don't want to come in on him right here. I want another B-roll clip here to carry me over to right here where this gap is. The reason I didn't push these two together, I explained this in a previous recording, but my audio wasn't recording, unfortunately. So here we are. The reason I put this gap here is just because like the way he talks, it sounded weird when I had to cut out a little bit of what he said and it just sounded weird, completely pressed together. I think this gap makes it sound a little bit more natural, and when it's covered with B-roll, my thinking is we won't even notice it. Doing what I'm doing, selling a bunch of art, like it just felt natural that there should be some kind of pause, some kind of break there. So um, let's just find one more B-roll clip of hopefully him selling his art. Um, which I know I got some of at some point. I'm just kind of hovering here. I got a lot of B-roll of a lot of different vendors here. Um, it's actually possible I didn't get him, but usually I do. So I'm just looking for his booth specifically here. Like this. Here's him at least talking with. He does say like conversing with people, making connections. Um, so I'll look at the clips before and after just to be sure I didn't get any more clips of him. But let me start with this. This is something. These are like the types of shots that I love getting. Ones where people are smiling and interacting because that's really like anytime you can show people in your footage, like 9 times out of 10, that's the right thing to do. It's gonna be what people want to look at the most. Okay. So let us do this now. Oh, yeah. Let me find just a good portion of this. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm just kind of scrubbing through. So already I can see I don't really want any of this because there's just this random dude trying to shift out of the way. Random dude with a camera backpack, I might add. I'm actually not sure who that is. He has the base hat on. I don't think I've met that guy. But really, what I want is just like a little segment right here somewhere. Ideally, I'm looking for something like this where he's smiling. Don't want any weird hand gestures. I'm trying to just consider everything that's in the frame and just try to find like just a nice ideal part of it. Don't want to overthink it too much. It's going to be all kind of similar, but you want to, make it look like you put some thought into it. That's really what we're after here. Like with anything, I mean, any sort of craft, just look like there was some intention put into it, some thought, something like that. Let's just try that. IO for in and out. It's gonna be a little bit long, but or in this case, I guess a little bit short. See how that works. And I'm gonna run it back from here just to try to get a flow for the whole thing that we have so far. So I like that. I wish I had some shots of his art, man. I'm gonna be kind of mad at myself. Oh, here we go. I was like, I know I got this at some point. Okay, so here's some more footage of him talking, doing his thing. Not really the best because you can see for one, I'm adjusting a bunch of stuff. Stuff's out of focus. Man, whoever shot this was a lazy fucking idiot. See, this is pretty good. The thing that I don't like is there's this bar like right here in the middle of the shot. Like it's just sort of awkward. Like I like how it's showcasing all of his art and stuff, kind of, but it's also just pretty busy. Like if anything, I should have come over here behind this lady and just had her in the foreground and just him as the subject, like either dead centered or on a third or something where she's blurred out and he isn't. And then like really what you want to do right here, if you can't shoot that from the side, do a do a one shot and reverse shot. So shoot like over her shoulder with her blurry in the foreground looking at him and then spin around and get him in the blurry in the foreground looking at her. Like if you want to get capture any good interaction, like that's a safe place to start for sure. It's just getting those two sorts of things. It might feel a little weird because people see you running out of the camera and pointing at them, like looking like you're hiding. But if you just approach it, in a confident, friendly manner and say, I'm just getting, some footage of this stuff. Just sorry, keep doing what you're doing. They'll let you know if they're uncomfortable being on camera, but you really like I know this is kind of branching out of the realm of editing, but you really got to just be you know, you got to just take control of the situation. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what this stuff is about. So that said, I'm not sure. Let's see how this shot looks. So nothing crazy yet. I like starting maybe here, coming down. This really showcases his art, and then it goes to him sort of blurry, which I don't really mind. But you can see I did a little bit of both here. Um, so because I can only really use like a couple seconds, maybe start with that and then go here. Like that's kind of a cool shot, I think. Let me just run that back a little bit, somewhere like that. That might be a little too long, but yeah, let's just take a little off the beginning and a little off the end and see where that puts us. Here's another kind of quick tip. Um, let me move that real quick. That was an unrelated shot just about the stage, although he does say listening to me, just catching a vibe. Um, um, so he says listening to music, so I wanted to cut back to the stage right there. Um, And so maybe I do actually want to cut back to him when he says, and just catching the vibes. That's just such a profound, like maybe not profound, but it's just a powerful statement. And I talked about this again in a previous recording that unfortunately didn't capture the audio of. But all of these interviews that I've placed in here were in very strategic. I put in a very strategic way. Like the whole goal was actually to make them work kind of with the music. And you might have been able to tell just by listening to these first couple where they were. You know, it's not necessarily like I'm trying to place them right on a beat drop or right on something, but if you go to somewhere like this where there's an obvious beat drop here or a switch or something, if you put something before or right on that or right after that, you're really adding to the impact of whatever that thing was on screen or whatever statement you heard. In this case, he says, just catching the vibe and then bah, and then it drops. So I did that intentionally, and we'll see more of that with some of these other A roll clips coming up. But I did that intentionally because it was just such a cool, awesome line. Um, and just catching the vibe, like, people just know what that means. I think that's just a statement people could resonate with, and just the way Micah, this particular guy, talks, I think is just so infectious, like, it just felt like the right thing to put in that moment, so, um, yeah, I wanted to end it right there intentionally right before the beat drops. Something like that, so I'm just going off intuition here, but to finish up this portion, so let's see what we got here. So I actually don't want that shot to last all that long, it's not. And honestly, looking at this, like, I'm not even sure if I wanna show I guess I could. My thinking at first was like, this doesn't really show off, again, in that realm of visual weight, like, a shot like this one where it's just very subject oriented and not really context oriented, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not really showing off anything about the event. I'm doing just a very close up of, like, this one particular product that this one vendor is selling, and I wanna be pretty liberal with how much of that I'm putting into the overall edit, because I don't want it to feel like it's just about the products and the merchandise. Well, of course, the vendors are a big part of it. Like, I do want to make sure I'm saving some breathing room, I guess if we'll call it that, for just other types of shots like these social interactions, that kind of thing. Part of it is I'm so early on in the edit, I don't have a ton of B-roll in here yet. It might not be as bad as it seems, but let's just see how this shapes up, though. Here's another tip, so you can see I accidentally cut a little bit out. Although this is like perfectly aligned, so now you can see that this ends right where he cuts in. There's certain times where you might not want to do that. You might actually want to add just the littlest amount of overlap between the two. It just helps smooth it out. It doesn't feel so jagged and cut. Like, let me play it back and just kind of give you an example and see if you can kind of just feel the difference of, like, you can tell there was a cut there and you can kind of tell I was trying to cover it up versus I'll show you again once I just by a little bit what kind of difference it makes. So it's like selling a bunch of art and it like comes in right as he says that. And honestly, it's not terrible. It's passable, I think, but let's see just what it looks like with just a little bit of extension just to help smooth that out a little bit. See how that kinda just smoothed out a little bit? Like, just selling a bunch of art, and then it cuts to him. It's like it felt just like a more natural cut and less like I was trying to make it work perfectly. So, it's like little things like that, little details like that, that I think really do separate good from great editing, in my personal opinion. It's like it's just picking up on those little subtleties and just implementing them wherever you can. This is actually crazy. Um, let's see if I can live. Damn. Text oriented, if that makes sense. Like I'm not really showing off anything about the event. I'm doing just a very overall edit because I don't want it to feel like it's just call it that for it might not be as bad. Here's another tip. So as she's peeling it, it'll be like around here, forward like that. Wow. So I'm just kind of watching the stream back now just to be sure. Um, and or just to check it out basically. Yo, what's up? Mike, glad you're in here. Dude, I just realized I was watching it back on my phone. I was like, I should probably check and see how this looks. I'm not getting any audio from DaVinci, which is kind of a bummer. And I'm not precisely sure how to address that. I'm kind of just testing shit out right now, see how things work. It's cool because I don't have to use OBS to do the streaming. It just does everything on its own. But that means that it seems like anyways, there's a ton of settings in here. There's no like audio capture settings. Like there's just no place to preview audio capture. Bummer. So I don't know. I guess you could scrub back through the stream and let me know what you think. And we'll tweak it as we go on. The first one is supposed to suck. That's what they tell me. So don't feel obligated to stick around too long, Mike. I just wanted to test it, see how it looked from somebody else's end. But without audio, this is going to kind of suck. So I'm really just going through here right now at the moment, trying to just determine how to put these clips in here. And what I was just saying is I want to keep one of these cuts here, but I want to replace, I think, this clip with something like this to introduce Micah talking real quick. Okay, good. That's good. And honestly, on my preview right here, everything is choppy, like the preview that YouTube gives you in YouTube Studio. So I was like, damn, if this is choppy, that's also going to suck. But it's good to know that it's working. I think I'm going to do another jump cut right here, like I did before. And I think I'm going to rewind this a little bit because I just want it to stay on him for a little bit longer. And then I'm going to cut up to his artwork. Like right there, I think put another one. We'll try extending that out I might be a little bit too long of a shot, but I want it to start where it's not just that in focus. So I'm looking up at the top left to see where the clip is going to start. And I would love it to show both of those things, but I didn't really do a great job of like a standard tilt up. I just kind of did like a weird sort of camera move where I looked like I was falling over. Um, Damn, that's crazy. Botrix is working. That's so weird. Yeah, no, definitely, dude. We should meet up about the labs thing. I mean, dude, I'm down to even. I've got some time today. If you want to hop on a Zoom or on Discord or something, I'm down. Um, or I like obviously tomorrow. I have a meeting tomorrow at 1, but other than that, I'd be down to meet up. I was having some thoughts too, not necessarily doubts. I mean, obviously, like it's like once you get through the honeymoon phase of a good idea, it's like, oh shit. Oh sweet. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, what was that? I will how long have I've been streaming for an hour. That's totally fine with me. Yeah, dude. I'll hit you up on Discord here in a second if that works for you. Or whatever. Zoom or Skype. I'll probably just be like working on this in the background, but um sweet. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this stream. This was a good test. I will just have to troubleshoot the what do you call it? Audio issue. But until next time, if you're watching this in the future, I appreciate you. But this was test stream number 1. So more to come in the future, hopefully. And we'll see how it goes. But until next time, peace.